Hi, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of Govs on the Go Alumni Edition, a podcast featuring alumni from the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. My name is Dr. Buzz Hoon. I'm the Dean of the College. I'm also the host of the podcast. And today, I'm fortunate to be speaking with Lexi Putter, who graduated from Austin Peay with a degree in theater back in 2021. Lexi, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat with everybody.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. We're gonna talk about what your experiences were when you were here at Austin Peay. But let's begin with a life update. Tell everybody what's going on in your life right now.
Yeah, so I'm originally from Texas, but I've moved to Chicago and I've been here about 4 years. I'm an actor, comedian, and improviser here in the city. So I kind of do a little bit of everything out here. You kind of have to when you're in that creative field. And so I am actively working at a lot of the theaters here, especially the big three, the Second City, Annoyance, and IO. IO used to be called Improv Olympic, so that's an old name, and you'll probably hear a lot of that Improv Olympic from past big alumni that came out of there, like Amy Poehler and such. So I'm actively doing rehearsals, performing on these stages, coaching a little bit of teams and whatnot. I've kind of got my hands in a lot of pots here and still actively working like a few jobs too to kind of just still keep going. Yeah.
Well, that's what we do. When
Mhm.
you're young, you have the energy to do so much.
Yes. I don't know how much energy I have, but somehow I keep going.
There
So,
you go. Well, let's begin your story.
Mhm.
Back in, you said you grew up in Flower Mound, which is
Mhm.
just north of Dallas, Texas. For those that don't know where Flower Mound is, tell us a little bit about what it was like for you growing up. What are some of your earliest favorite memories?
Yeah, so growing up in Texas, it was very interesting. I am so lucky to have such wonderful, supportive parents,
Hmm.
but I grew up with coaches for parents, very athletic, very sports, very big into that. So every time I was doing my musicals and whatnot, I was still going to soccer practice, or I was still making sure I was keeping active with sports and everything. And they're very competitive. So grow up in a very competitive household. I was like, well, I don't really think I want to do sports. Like, I don't really care if we win or lose. I'm more about like what snacks were being served and whatnot. And so I kind of figured like that's not the aspect for me to be a part of and in that branch. So my mom and dad were like, "You want to do theater?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd really like to." And so I've done theater since a young age. Since I was about 5, I was in musicals all through, and I used to do these summer camps called Dallas Summer Musicals. And it was a program through Michael Jenkins, who is a big at the Fair Park there that puts on all the touring musicals. He created this program for kids and youths to kind of get into musicals, put on a show, and give scholarships to kids that really want to do it. And he would bring in these touring shows to come teach classes and teach kids how to do different dances or like what is it like to do the Broadway dream. So I grew up doing a lot of that. And so I was like, I want to be on Broadway. I want to be singing, dancing. I want to do all that so much. Even though I've always loved watching like SNL and growing up with those comedy legends too, I was like, oh, this is super fun. So I grew up doing a lot of musicals and spending my summers at Fair Park and just doing that. And those are some of my favorite memories in Texas. Of that program really shaped me into the performer I am.
Yeah, so early on, you were okay with that sort of being out in front of everybody, and
Yeah,
you actually had an enjoyment. You saw that was spoke to your spirit, spoke to your soul, sort of thing. That's
yeah,
great. I mean, I think that for somebody to be exposed to the arts at such a young age, and then have that grow as they grow is really just it's so important for all young people to at least have that exposure.
I
Um,
agree.
and so at some point, did you continue on in high school?
Yes, so I did it all through middle school, did the theater program there, and then in high school, I went to a different high school than the one I was zoned to because my mom worked in the school district that I ended up going to school in at Creekview High School in Carrollton, Texas, and they were really known for their theater department and their speech and debate teams. And I was like, I would really like to go there. I think that would be a great fit for me, and they just put so much energy and time behind their arts programs. A lot of arts programs used to get cut in Texas.
Hmm.
And nowadays they're struggling too with the speech debate programs. A lot of them are going away, which is really sad. But this school was like, we are state champions. We want to make sure kids really find a place. And so I went and did musicals, acting there, and got into speech and debate, which is like competitive acting. I was doing different kinds of humorous scripts, dramatic scripts, or duets with people. And there was a teacher there called Robert Shepard. He really shaped, honestly, who I am today. I have all credit to that man. So, because he really made sure, he used to always have a motto for us that would be like, if you're not comfortable feeling ugly as this character, how can you express yourself normally? You can't have these insecurities. He'd always be like, you have to be comfortable getting underneath this and be ugly and look like how you feel these characters should be. So he really taught us no fear and to accept who we were, which really brought me into, I feel like, even better to get into acting because acting is such, you have to have no fear. You've got to go for
Yeah.
it. And that high school really shaped me for sure.
Yeah, and you mentioned your parents were supportive of
Mm-hmm.
your participation in that, and as people that I'm sure were athletes, they felt the same way in terms of their participation in sports. That there is
Yeah.
certainly this you step out in front of many people on a stage, and that's what you were doing. You were actually stepping onto a
Yeah.
stage, and so I'm sure that they it translated well for them.
Yes, they did. Like I think about all the times when my mom would start getting into this acting with me and she'd take my thing and go, actually, I think you should read it this way. And then she'd
Oh,
read it to me how she'd think I should do it. It was always so fun because I was like, I see your competitiveness and my competitiveness now is directed into theater. And yeah, they just always made sure to keep going. That's always what they taught us is just keep going, keep pushing. And my family are coaches, so they're brutally honest. So they would tell me if I was bad or if I need to work on something. So I know that's why I picked a good dream because they would tell me
yeah.
to be like, no, next. So,
So mom had some notes for you
oh,
occasionally.
always had notes. And it was just so funny every time she would be like, I want to do it. I think you should do it this way. And I'd be like, okay, I'll give it a try that way. But it was just so funny to have them involved that way.
So how did you get to Austin P? Because now
Yeah.
I'm so glad that you did. But how did we
Mhm.
find you, and how did you get to come here?
Yeah, so Austin Peay participated in a big theater audition in Texas called Unifieds, the North Texas Unifieds, where a lot of schools from all over come. And it's honestly terrifying as a young 17-year-old
I'm sure.
auditioning in front of millions different kinds of schools. And you audition in front of all of them. You do like either two monologues or you do a monologue and a song. And I did a monologue and a song for my audition. And afterwards, you go wait and your number is posted if they want to talk to you and give you a call back and be like, we think you'd be a good fit for our program. And so I had a lot of different numbers, and I remember Austin P was one of my numbers. And I was like, I don't really know too much about this school. I'd love to go. I honestly was like, Austin P, are they in Austin, Texas?
Yeah.
Let me see like where this is. And I was just feeling so overwhelmed that day because there was just so many different schools and like some of them would want you to go do another audition or they would talk about things with you as a young 17-year-old that you're like, I don't know what this means. My dream is this, but this feels not right for me. And I went and talked to Austin P, where I met Talon Beeson and Darren Michael. And they asked me, they were the first school to ask me, what is your dream? What do you want? And how can we help you get there? And I thought that was really cool. And I always wanted to get a BFA, a Bachelor of Fine Arts, and I wanted to do more acting and directing side. And they had a program like that and they talked to me. They listened to what I had to say. I was like, honestly, I love doing plays, acting Broadway, but like my dream really is comedy and like SNL and finding like a comedic voice in a lot of different things. And they're like, we can figure out a way to get you there. And I thought that was really cool that they would listen to me first. And so I was like, yeah. And then I took a tour and I said, this is a beautiful campus. Texas doesn't have trees like this on their campus. And so I was like, yeah, this could be a good place for me.
And so you told mom and dad, I'm headed off to Tennessee, and they said,
Yes,
okay.
they said, all right, it's going to be a different change out there. And I was like, I know, but I'm pretty good at making friends and getting out there. I'm
Yeah.
luckily very introverted. And so I was like, not too worried. Just like, at least I'll be in a program. I'll meet some really cool people. But it was a change. It was a huge change. It was very like, I think it took me probably like a good 2 months to really adjust and like feel like, yeah, like I'm okay. Like I'm far from home, but I like this here.
So, what were your early memories here at Austin Peay? How did you get involved? Did you immediately try out for things? Did you join things?
Yeah, so with being a BFA, the program requires all Bachelor of Fine Arts students to, back then at least, to audition for everything. And I prepped all my audition stuff and just remembered like no fear because I remember at my callbacks, a lot of these colleges were like freshmen aren't allowed to audition for things yet. You've got to wait a year, or freshmen aren't allowed to do this yet. You have to wait and learn. And Austin P was like, no, we want you to start going right away, which I love because I was like, I don't want to wait a year. I want to perform. I want to learn. I want to get on stage. So right when I got there, we had like auditions for the first musical in fall, which was Company, and we did the musical Company, and I auditioned and I made it. And I was like, oh, freshmen usually don't make things, so this is super cool. And
Yeah.
a few of my freshman class friends also made it, and so we became really close knit friends. And that audition process was wonderful. It was so nice, so kind, and they were just so excited to see fresh new faces. And that's where I met like my two closest friends that I still talk to till this day. And it was just perfect. I loved auditioning for that. And after that, there was another audition, and I made that show. Then there was another audition, and I made that show. So I made all the shows that year. And everybody kept telling us that like freshmen usually don't make it. Freshmen don't usually make it. So I think I would go into these shows with like kind of like low expectations or like no fear of like I'm just gonna have fun, do me, like try out something crazy. I'll do an Irish accent for this. Why not? Like just because I was hearing all these no's, and so I think that really helped me. Just being like, yeah, I'm just gonna try it. Let's do it. And it was. I'm so glad I did.
Yeah. Oh, and who are your friends? You want to give them a shout out?
Yeah, Logan Reed. He was also a BFA acting and directing with me. He's now in Atlanta. He does all like a bunch of stuff out there. And I met Treston Henderson too.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was going to say, you guys have probably talked to
We
him
have talked.
before. Yeah, he's a great friend. And he also pushed me to be like, you got to do it, you got to go. And so I still talk to all these wonderful people all the
Wow, what
time.
a talented group of students to hang around.
Yeah, it was honestly, it was kind of like, oh, we all believe in each other, or like, oh, we all see something. Let's all help each other try to achieve a dream, which was honestly the best thing because you're alone and you're trying to figure out what you want to do. College is all about figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, not only the opportunity to have that experience, but I think that the having a good group of other students to
Yes.
learn with, and then an excellent group of faculty to guide you along the way.
Hmm.
Let's talk a little bit about some of your favorite professors and people that really impacted
Yeah.
you while you were here.
Yeah. I honestly, all the faculty was, they were also welcoming and amazing. I really connected hard with Darren Michael and Marcus Hayes, Talon Beeson, and his wife, Sarah Anderson. Um, and Elaine, she was one of the tap instructors as well there. Like, those are some of my favorite professors to go chat with and talk with. And I made a few of them on my like capstone board when I was a senior. So I was like, I want your opinions. Like you guys know me. And they were so helpful straight away. And it was just, you're new, you're coming into this, you don't know. And they were like, that's okay. It's okay to fail. Like, we're going to teach you. And that's so nice to see when you come from very people just being like, you got to do it right. You got to do it this way.
I have
Yeah,
found
I
those
love.
people to really not just be care. Yeah, they care about the student, but they care
Yes.
about the person developing into a good human being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's important about what the culture is in that department and what we do here at Austin P. One of the things that you remembered was there was a 24-hour event where you actually
Yes.
slept in the theater. Tell me about that.
Yes. Yeah. So Darren Michael put on the 24-hour play festival where it would be like the writing classes would write like 10-minute snippets and then they would cast people from the acting program. And I was a freshman and I got cast in this. And I was like, I've never done a 24-hour play festival. Like, what do you do? And they're like, pretty much you stay up and you rehearse and then you go on at different times. but like we really need you in the theater so we can do tech and such. So everybody was like, why don't we just sleep here? Everybody else is sleeping here. Why not? And so I was like, oh, I have an Eno. I've got a hammock I asked for my birthday one year. Let me go get that. And so I put it up in like the lobby area of the polls. And I was like, I'll just sleep here. And it was honestly not comfortable at all. Not very, but like it was just so fun. Because I was like, ooh, sleeping in a theater, how fun. Kind of like a little
Oh,
sleepaway camp.
Lexi, tell me we have pictures of that.
I feel like there's got to be one somewhere. I remember, I think Margaret was the chair at the time, and she had came in and she was like, "What is this? Like, what is it? Who's in here?" And I was like, I like peeked. I was like, "I'm sorry. They said we had to go to tech soon." And so I was just like laying in the hammock. I've got to find them. I feel like there's got to be one somewhere.
Yeah, that would be great. You also mentioned that there was a play that was interrupted by a tornado.
Yes, my freshman year as well. Freshman year was crazy. Oh, or maybe you just remember it so hard because you're just thinking about all the things. My freshman year, we did Taming of the Shrew in the spring time, and Taming of the Shrew is already a long show, and so we were in the middle of performing, and then there was this big tornado that was coming through campus, and it like had taken off some of the basketball area, and they all like we had to shelter in place, so we had to all of us had to stop the show. We had a full audience, our cast, which was kind of big as well, and we had to go all down into the basement area of the art studios in the Traherne. And I remember we were just sitting here and all of us went, man, we have to still finish the show once this comes out, like goes by. And there's still a whole nother act 2 and it's gonna be long and late. And it was like I think it was a Friday, but it was just really interesting sheltering with all these audience members while we're in our Taming the Shrew outfits. And we were it was themed, so it was like art pop kind of theme of like cartoon, like comic book. That's what it is, comic book. So our faces were painted like super aggressive with our nose, our features, and we were just sitting here like, it. Hopefully this passes, or that'd be crazy if we all look like this going out. That'd be crazy.
If we're found like this,
Yeah, we're found like this. They're like, what is this?
what happened here?
Yeah, that was very interesting. My mom flew in for that show, and I remember she was with me, and she was like, "I feel like this will be fine," and it was. And it was just so random and
Hmm.
interesting for Taming the Shrew and all these people. I bet they were just as confused, and I think we asked the audience too. That was like, "Would you guys still like to see Act 2, or do you want to come back for like Saturday matinee and just come for the second part for free?" They're like, "We'd like to see it finish," and all of us went, okay. Because I think we all were just like, oh, it's gonna get out late, and just being very drama. Yeah.
So those things were happening your freshman year, and I'm sure you were impacted like everybody else with COVID, with the
Yes.
shutdown.
Yeah.
How did you guys deal with that?
Yeah, that was really tough because junior year, I was a junior when it happened. So I remember we already did our fall musical Working. We did that one, and then there was a play. The John Patrick Shanley plays were in too. So they were doing those. And I remember we finished that, and then we just casted for Adam's Family for the spring. We had a guest director. So everybody was really excited about like this money for Adam's Family and doing it with a cool guest director and just doing a huge production. I remember when we got shut down, everybody was so
Mm.
sad because we really wanted to have this connection with this guest director who does stuff in New York and has done the Michael Jackson tour, and we were just so excited to work with her, and we were just sad to be like, oh, we can't do theater, can't do art, and going and having to go home. And I had just flown to New York because Tristan and a few of us went to go audition for the national tour of Hairspray
Mm.
because we were like, oh, why not? It's like, let's go do it. And our professors were like, go, we have to be back. Like, you got to be back Monday. And we had just auditioned for that. And we had heard like rumors of cases in New York. And we did all the auditions up there. And then we flew back, and it was like spring break time. And my mom was like, let's go back to New York. And like, because a few of us got callbacks and wanted to like go back there and see. So we had went back, and my mom went with me, and we watched New York kind of shut down.
Yeah.
We were like the last flight out. And then Awesome Peay announced, we were gonna have an extended like spring break. And so I was like, okay, I'll just take home a week's worth of clothes and my laptop and whatnot. And maybe I'll bring my tap shoes, if I get bored. And that week turned into a few months. of me living off these 1 week of clothes and
Oh my.
and then doing Zoom school. And it was honestly really sad. And because, gosh, it really affected the arts community really hard. And all
Yes.
these plans for these huge, cool shows that we couldn't do anymore. And figuring out ways coming back, how we can still perform, still be around each other and figure, oh, my thing cut out there. There we go. Um, Still figure out kind of how to be be around each other and do art. And so that was a huge adjustment coming back. And I ended up assistant directing talent on a radio show, like a radio show we kind of did when we came back, called Suspense. And I thought that was a really good solution of still trying to make art and do something. But man, it was tough. It was really
Yeah.
hard. Yeah.
Well, it certainly showed again that at that period of time, you're just trying to go day to day. But
Yeah.
now you've had time to look back and reflect about that. I'm sure that you were adapting just like you are now with your improv and everything else about how to deal with life as it comes along.
Yeah, it really was an adjustment. And I think a lot of people were scared that art wouldn't come back. And it did come back and it came back different. Art is different now with like even in the improv and comedy community, it's very different than before with the pandemic. Like before people loved being out to see shows and being out
Hmm.
late. Now everybody's like, okay, I'm out, I'd like to go home. So like late night shows don't really do well anymore here. Like people love a good 8 p.m., 9 p.m. and they don't want to do the 10 p.m. shows anymore. And so it's definitely like that affected art and learning how to adjust to it was very interesting. But that's kind of what you have to do when you want to do this career.
So when you were graduating in 2021,
Mm-hmm.
did you always know you wanted to go to Chicago? What was the plan there?
Yeah, so in careers class, they told
Yeah.
us to pick a city we want to go to and all the good, all the bad, show everything and make us like do a whole PowerPoint on it. And so I did on Chicago because I was like, I want to go to Chicago because that's where I looked at a lot of my favorite actors, comedians came from and where they started. And a lot of my favorite ones started in Chicago at Second City, at IO, at these annoyance, at these huge places where they've kind of cultivated their careers and their comedy careers. So I was like, I want to do that route. I want to go to Chicago. I was like, it's either New York or Chicago, but I want to do Chicago because I think that'd be a great training place to really hone like what I want to do. Because we had some improv and comedy and awesome people, but not like how it is here. This is the hub. This is where like all the greats came from. Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Chris Farley came out of here, Stephen Colbert, like all these big pivotal people came from here. So I did all the research and I was like, I want to move here. I was originally supposed to come with some friends, but they backed out. And I was like, well, I still want to go here. I'll just go by myself. And I'll do that Facebook roommate search. And I'll go live with some random people, make some friends
Oh my.
and see. And so I was like, well, I did it before moving to Tennessee and it worked out great for me. And I loved my experience there. And my parents were super supportive of like, do what you want to do, follow your dreams. Let's figure it out. Let's find these places for you to live. And I first moved there at the kind of like end of the summer, more September, October. I had found a place that was pretty cheap. And I said, okay, I'll try it out. I don't know. Why not? And met these two girls. They were very nice. And then just yeah, it was very interesting though moving there. I will say that. I said, "Oh, I'm living in a basement." I didn't know what garden apartment meant, clearly. I thought it was like, "Oh, garden. I like to garden.
Yeah.
That's fun." I didn't know it meant basement. It's a nice word to put for basement. I was like, "Wow, this is why it's so cheap." Because I was like, everybody's like, "Chicago's so expensive." I went, "No, I found this apartment that's 670. That's pretty cheap." Yeah, it was for a reason.
Now you know.
And now I know. And but gosh, I'll never forget the look on my parents' face when we went in and they went, where are you living?" I was like, I don't know. It had good reviews. They're really nice
Ah,
girls, super cheap. I can afford it. I thought it would be great.
yeah. That
hmm
again, no fear.
Yeah, yeah. I maybe there should have been with that apartment search, maybe, but it really taught me a lot about really being on your own
Yeah.
in a new big city, no help from like a support system of faculty and like college gives you. but they prepared me. They prepared me very well for wanting to go do my dreams. And my parents were supportive and everyone was supportive. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to be here for. It's time to get to work, time to go audition. But it was still kind of COVID-y here. So Second City was the only one that was open and with like limited classes. And so I got in with Second City pretty fast to try to like earn my name, figure out what the comedy style is here and learn there. And then IO opened later back up. Went to IO to learn a little bit. But that first week in Chicago was kind of rough, I think, for the
Yeah.
listener.
So how are you making it work? Also, you're trying out, you're taking classes, but you're also trying to just pay the bills, right?
Yeah, there's unfortunately you gotta have a lot of jobs and you
Yeah.
gotta do what you gotta do. And I worked at Old Navy in college and then I transferred and they had a manager or they had a they had like a shipment manager and I was like, yeah, I could do that. And I went in and became shipment manager and visual and did random loss prevention, kind of did a little bit of everything with them, and I still do. And then I also got a job at Flight Club, which is a escalated dart bar, but they were hiring game masters. I remember seeing this ad for like 35 an hour going to run people's parties and be their little comedy clown host for a bit. And my boss is like was really big at Second City. And so I was like, this would be a fun avenue to go to. Why not? Well, I'll go to this job interview. And they picked my resume and I showed up and they asked me to teach them how to do something. And so I know napkin tricks, which is a really random skill. And so I like made I I made boobs out of napkins and I was like, yeah, this is it. This is my teaching moment. And they loved it. And they were like, yeah, this will work for this place. You've got enough goofiness, but you also keep people on track that you'll keep all these parties going, teach them their games. And I would be with these parties for like 3, 4 hours on the mic, yelling at them, telling them how to do things, keeping their party on track, keeping track of like what's next in their agenda, just kind of their fun little clown for the moment. And
Yeah.
so that job, that job is really wonderful. It slows down a little bit in the summer, but it always picks back up like during holiday seasons and the colder months. So there is a time where I don't do it as much. Then I go coach teams. I've been coaching improv teams now, or I used to help people with monologues in colleges and like do that. Like there's all these little side hustles that I have my little hands in everywhere just to get by. And I I get exhausted, but I also think, oh, what a joy it is to be at least living my dream of wanting to
Yeah.
do what I'm doing here.
So let's talk a little bit about improv comedy.
Yeah.
And so tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about like what kind of skills do you need to have and how do you approach it?
Yeah.
Yeah, talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. Improv, I have always been really good about being kind of outgoing, quick on my feet, and quick thinking. And just, I've always kind of been the loud person in the back with the quick joke and whatnot. And that translates really well for improv. And so, like, if you're ever that loud kid, you could have a career in improv and just be just fine. But yeah, so you really have to be a really good active listener and you have to just think about the show as a whole. And if there are people saying things at the beginning of the show, you got to make sure you remember them and keep them to
Hmm.
keep have these themes to help kind of create a story and create whatnot. Because in Chicago, long form improv is really big here, where long form and short form is more like games. You're playing quick little games, like one liner games, punchline games is short form, but long form is like story and it can be narrative, but it can be like, what are the themes did we just hear from our suggestion? Like the suggestion can be like toilet paper, and that can be taken in so many different ways with just one suggestion. And you're kind of just connecting dots throughout the whole show. You got to be listening, you got to be like yesing with these people and just taking these ideas and giving your own idea as well with it. It's basically just like yes anding people and then adding your own spin on it and then playing characters on stage. It's still a little bit of acting. You're playing characters and
Hmm.
being kind of goofy that way. And jokes will come, and sometimes their jokes won't land because improv and it's right then. And that's also super funny too. Sometimes you're like, oh, sorry, I thought that joke would hit. I guess not. and you have to be quick on the moment to pivot. You got to be just really quick on your feet, an active listener, and yesing your partner and not leaving your partner feeling like they have nobody to play with and talk with.
Yeah. So, what are some of yeah, I always like to try to point out some of the joys and some of the challenges of
Yeah.
what you're doing. Let's talk a little bit about the joys first.
Yeah. Gosh, I honestly, there's so many joys with improv and comedy. I think one is like the community that you build
Mm.
with. Wow, it is such a big, welcoming community, and everybody knows everyone, which is scary and fun though, because you feel connected and you feel like it's like they see you do really good on one show and they go, we would love to have Lexi on our show. Like it's that kind of community where they trust you and they want to build with you. And I love that nobody feels like they're done learning. That's one of my favorite things. I love taking classes, or I love going to these workshops that they will offer for us and just learning even more. And like I got to work with like Chris Kattan once, which was super fun from SNL. And just the joys of the community, joys of there's always a stage and a space for you. And if you want to put up your own thing, they'll let you. They'll let you put up your own show. Just tell them like what your theme is, pitch it to them, and they'll say yes and they'll let you kind of have fun. So there's no control on people's voices here. There's no control on like what you can or can't create. They want you to a of course have a good show and make sure it's nothing too like off beat and whatnot, but they want you to really just show your voice, which I love. Um, I would say that's probably my favorite thing about being in this community. It's just I've made some really lifelong friends, and creating really cool art with people is really fun, and I
Yeah.
I love that so much.
And the challenges, because I'm sure there are challenges
There
along the
are,
way.
yeah, and with anything that's great, there comes just those scary moments. I would say when I first got here, even 4 years ago, the scene has changed so much in 4 years. Back in the day, the improv world and the community used to be very heavy male centered and
Mm.
very white male centered. And it was like very one singular voice. And they used to only give spaces and stages just for those types of people. So like women and people of color and queer people got really kind of pushed out. And there was no unique voices. And then a lot of people in the scene were like, this isn't fun. We don't want to do this way. And it switched. And so like there are still some times where it's hard to be a woman in comedy and like be taken seriously like these other people. And I would say that's like some of the challenges is like learning how to play with these people that think you're not funny, or I don't know, I think I want to hear my voice, and like finding your own confidence to be like, no, I am funny. Like I'm gonna outdo this right now. You're not gonna push me off stage in a way to get their bad joke out or something. So I would say that's one of the hardest things. I think the challenges of like finding that space and like for these groups besides this one centered group. um I think like the way that it's kind of slowed down with that is finding your own space, finding your own voice, and be like, no, this is what I want to do, bringing it to the attention of these people that are pillars into the community to help put an end to like not finding space for people of color, queer people, and women in comedy. So that was tough navigating, especially when you're so new and you're young. And also there's like a little bit of ageism sometimes when you were first getting into the scene and being like, oh well, how can you be funny, like in the stand-up world it's like you don't have enough experience. I go,
Mhm.
oh, we all have trauma, let us all talk about it. And it's just a little bit of trust and finding the right people to be a part of with.
Yeah. So, and I keep thinking back to you talking about your family and having such experiences as such a young person. You know, how do you deal with that competitiveness? Do you have a competitiveness in your professional life where you go, I'm going to get better and better and better?
Yeah, yeah, I think my parents putting that in us of like, oh, good isn't great. Like, don't you want to be like the best? Don't you want to keep working on your craft? You're never done learning. I think they've always instilled that, and like always like with the practicing and like being out there. And I'm always wanting to learn and practice. And that's why I've taken so many different classes from different theaters to learn their style. And like there is a sense of competitiveness, but I think where the issue comes into play too is when people start being competitive with each other in a way of like, we're too similar, we can't both be here. But like that's not the competitiveness that I want to be a part of, or like
Right.
that I instill. I think there's space for both of us. So like there is a bit of like that in the world, but it's rare. It's more of just like insecurities and whatnot. It's I think I'm always more of like I think all of us should have a space. We all can be playing in different comedies because we all have different voices. Everybody's comedy voice is different. Like your favorite comedians, they all have different styles.
Right.
And so my parents have always been like, focus on you, focus on what you're good at and how you can get better at the things that you're maybe not as great at. And so my competitiveness comes from just me wanting to kind of just like being I think I'm my own worst critic. So I always want to be better. And so my parents have always just like, always be better. You can always just keep learning. So that's kind of my competitiveness. It's
Yeah.
more of a me issue of me just be like, you can be better. Yeah.
Is your mom still giving you notes?
Always. She'll come my improv shows and she'll be like, you were good, but I don't know if I liked that person. I'll be like, okay, well, we're still in the theater. Let's wait and then we can talk about the show when we're not here. But she always thinks I'm so funny. Her one thing to me always is when I do comedy and improv shows and when I should be like, I loved it a lot, but I just wish you would sing. She'd be like, I
Oh.
just wish you'd sing. I'm like, well, this isn't a singing show, but I'll think about that. I'll think about it for next time. I'll get back into some musical for you. It's just always that. It's so funny. My mom loved the show. She just wished there was more singing. They're like, what? I'm like, I
Yeah.
know. I don't know.
Nobody loves you like your mother.
I know. Yeah. They're so supportive. My dad, I remember he came to one of my shows that was maybe a little more out there, a little more risque and whatnot. And he was like, I liked it, but man, I've never heard you cuss. And that was crazy. I'd be like, yeah. I was like, people here have a little bit of an aggressive tone on stage. And I'll be like, well, he's like, but I thought it was funny. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that would be difficult to not to be
Yeah.
hold back and just because your parents are there.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I'll be like, my parents are here, but I gotta do the same thing I've been doing. That works great. So
So Lexi, I know you've been out of school now almost 5 years, and I'm wondering if you have some recommendations for students now that you have a little bit of time to reflect back upon.
yeah, yeah. I honestly think if you want to do improv, if you want to do comedy, if you want to do acting, you just like can't give up. It's a hard world and everybody wants to do it, but that doesn't mean everybody has the drive to do it. I think if you just keep your drive and keep what you know is good, keep learning. And my biggest thing too is work with people that are in the scene that are actively on these big stages. Ask them to come see one of your shows, give you notes, give you feedback. If you want to be coached, like if you've got an improv team and you need a new coach, go reach out to these people that are on these big stages because they're your best connections. It's all about connections and being yourself and not being fake in front of them, being authentic, and they'll help you. They'll see through if you're just there for one reason. But if you genuinely want to keep learning and keep getting better and your goal is to be on these big stages, work with people that are actively hard in the scene. Find ways to see if they've got a workshop, meet friends, connect. Because I feel like a lot of my stuff has came from I saw you do that one show that one time. You were so good. And we're friends now. Please come do my show. It's connections, keeping those good friendships with people in the scene. Don't be transactional about it. Help them, they help you, and just honestly keep your drive. Keep your drive. Work with people that are in the scene. Find your connections, and you'll be set. I think it
Well,
took a second for me to really find my footing here because I didn't know anybody. And so I just kept going out. I kept staying out, seeing shows, showing face, and just being at these places and then be like, what's your name? You came to a lot of our shows. Have you thought about doing improv? I was like, yes, I have. I'd love to learn from you. And that's kind of the way to do it is just keep being out there. I know it like everyone says, like, don't give up, but it really is that. If there's so many people that want to do this career, you just got to keep that drive and you'll be rewarded.
well, I'm so thankful that we got a chance to talk and hear your story. I mean, it is a story of persistence and
Yeah.
courage and talent and all those things mixed together. And it's just a great testament to this program that you were part of it. And we're very thankful that you've been able to share your story today.
Thank you so much for reaching out. I really loved Austin Peay and the community you guys gave me and taking a chance on a young 17-year-old maybe wanting to do a lot of different things and figuring out exactly what I wanted to do. but not feeling limited was just really why I loved Austin Peay. And being on a campus that had beautiful trees was also a plus. I've never seen that. So it was just the faculty, the friendships I made there. It was wonderful. It really was a great time. I miss it all the time. I always think about that school.
Great. And thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was wonderful chatting.
Thanks for all of our listeners and viewers for checking us out as well. We hope that you will join us as we continue to profile some of the outstanding alumni we have in the College of Arts and Letters here at Austin Peay State University. So until next time, stay safe, take care, and God bless.